guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Statements edition of Mackey and Judd here on this Monday. Presented by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. Are you just hammering the golf stuff now? Or are you even God. Like, okay.
Oh, yes. I had a little 3-item parlay actually when for Dex tweets. I mentioned that I had like 4 Manhattans over the weekend. This helped pay for them a little bit. Little 3-item
I took the over
3.5
on Underdog for Declan.
Actually,
Manhattan.
Declan, that actually is a really good prop there. I'll email our guy Andrew. 2.5 Manhattans for Declan. Over/under on Friday. I would probably ride that over. But at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, I took a little lower spree here on JT, Scotty Scheffler, Matt Fitzpatrick, who I also fell in love with on the Full Swing doc. Netted me a little 3-item parlay for $60. If you want to join Underdog Fantasy, go to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code SCORE, SKOR. First-time users get a $100 bonus to use on the pick'ems, on the draft. Just because fantasy football is over does not mean the fun ends at Underdog Fantasy. Go download the Underdog Fantasy app and show us those winning slips.
Gentlemen, it's a statements edition of Mackey and Judd here. Start you off with this one, okay? The D'Angelo Russell trade was a heist for the Timberwolves. All right? A lot of people, Mike Conley had a couple clunker games in there, and it was very much framed as, a D'Lo for Conley situation. Nickeil Alexander-Walker was the second player, not counting the 3 second-round draft picks that the Wolves got back to. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, a former first-round pick a few years ago. He's just 24 years old. He is shooting 42% from 3 this season, 50% from 3 for the Wolves in the 2 weeks. I get it's a small sample size, but he's playing like 20 minutes a night over the last 5 games for the Wolves. They've won 3 of those, including 3 in a row. They swept their way through LA, and then they beat a really good Sacramento Kings team that right now is the 3 seed in the Western Conference. And in that game against the Kings, as they call him, N-A-W, all right, scored 16 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, knocked down 4 3-pointers, and some important free throws. And Mike Conley has been a great bridge, a leader for Anthony Edwards, a straw that stirs the drink. He's got a good connection with Rudy Gobert. And you get all of this. You get 2 years of Mike Conley's leadership and just being an adult. He's a restricted free agent, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but he's going to be in your rotation now. You're going to probably match a contract. And a few second-round picks for 2 months of D'Lo's expiring contract. Nice job, Tim Connolly.
Bravo. Especially for this team right now. And if you guys recall, a couple of months ago, the conversation was this. We had players, veteran players, going up to the podium, Austin Rivers, Taurean Prince, and saying, well, I got to lead here. I got to lead. And I think we all said, do you play enough to lead? Like, are you, like, no dig against you, but are you, like, in a position to not only do your job playing when you do get to play, but also to be a primary voice in the locker room? Mike Conley can do that. And so I think as far as the word that I would use for him at his age is stabilizing influence. He is probably in his own way Pat Bev without the theatrics. Pat Bev without the excitement. But in this case, I think the Timberwolves get the excitement from Ant. So, yes, I think given where this team was, and the remarkable thing here, in fact, you know what? I'll get to that in my statement. Dex, go first.
Oh, I was going to say. My statement is don't let the Wolves get hot. Because since the new year, the Minnesota Timberwolves have one of the best records in the Western Conference. They are 18-11 since January 1st, dude.
Second best? Second best behind the Nuggets. Yeah.
Only Denver has been better, and that was right around that players-only meeting. They have figured out ways to win, a lot like last year, right? I mean, they were kind of a middling team when it headed into the New Year, and then the second half of the schedule, they really turned things on. They ended up obviously winning the play-in game, forced a nice series against Memphis, but the Wolves are getting hot. And now also with this Ja Morant situation, which just really continues to escalate, and now he's out indefinitely. Like, that's one less foe for Memphis that you have to deal with in front of you. The Wolves are getting hot here at the right time. They still got some games obviously left. They have to make some hay against some Eastern Conference teams coming up, which will be tough. But the Wolves are getting hot, and they're playing some of their best basketball of the season.
Dude, Ja Morant just like flashing guns on Instagram, and you have a gun on the team plane.
Well,
just calm down with the guns there on the team plane there, guy.
What was that? So he had a gun in Indiana and like had a laser on the Pacers bus. Did you guys see that whole story?
I didn't see that part of the story.
There have been 3 separate. So it turns out. So Woj said that Ja Morant has been under investigation for a year by the league.
Yeah, the
and
NBA
that
always
was the
knows
one that got out.
Yeah.
But there was one where he got into some type of altercation or verbal altercation with a Pacers player, and then the Pacers saw like a laser pointed at their bus, and then Ja also pulled a gun on a 17-year-old kid who was playing in a backyard game at Ja's house.
Yeah.
Dude, didn't Malik Beasley pull a gun on someone in a Parade of Homes SUV?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Did no one like let him know, hey, the neighborhood you're in, there's a lot of Christmas lights and things.
Yeah, it's Plymouth.
People are going to just be kind of driving by. Just, don't pull a gun on them.
I hope Ja gets help, though, because that guy is tremendous. Like, he's so much fun to watch. I don't know if it's exactly what the problem is there, like if it's anger, if it's substances or what. But I hope he gets help because he is a great player to watch.
So your Western Conference, so you got the Nuggets, and the Nuggets are pretty buttoned up. They got their stuff together. But they've also had a glass ceiling on how far they can go for the last few years. The team behind them is the Grizzlies, and the star player, for all the reasons we just mentioned, is out indefinitely. And they also just lost Brandon Clark, maybe for like a full year.
Yep.
The Kings, who you just beat in Sacramento, a good team, but certainly not a team that you would fear is going to like win the championship.
Yep.
The Suns with Kevin Durant should make people nervous. Absolutely. The Warriors when Steph comes back. But the Warriors are one of the worst road teams in the league this year. Like, literally worse than the Hornets.
Yeah.
They have the same road record, basically, as the Pistons. So, and maybe some of that's just like, we got a dynasty. We're gonna enjoy dinners on the road.
They're getting old, too, though. Like, they're still damn good, but they're getting old.
Traveling's tough, man. You've been sleeping in 5-star hotels. Just saying, like, the Wolves, if the Wolves keep pushing here and their schedule remains pretty tough,
Yep.
it's going to be, I'm with Declan. Don't sleep on these guys.
Yep. My statement also, Timberwolves related, is this. There are remarkable similarities. And I mean about the team that we talked about in the first part of this show, the Wild and the Wolves. The remarkable similarities are the ups and downs that both teams experienced to get to where they currently are, and they're both playing really well. But also, the similarity is in how they have to play to be successful, which is not a sexy style, which is not the Timberwolves can play faster now, but look at how responsible. Like when the Wolves win, look at what they do well. Look at what they do well. And again, I will say this, much like the Wild, if they can take this into the playoffs, it very well might translate. Because it's a sustainable style, it's just hard to play. But if you're willing to do it, if you're willing to play defensively, if you're willing to execute your assignments, which again is where I love Conley, because Conley knows exactly what this takes. I saw his quote where he said, at least for now, it's a breath of fresh air to play on a team where everyone around me plays defense. He said, I've played on teams where you've got 2 guys, but I've never played on a team where the concept is fully embraced. Right now, so if you look at the Wild and Wolves, I'm going to tell you, it is so interesting to me that they've had very similar seasons, because when they're not going well, their faults are obvious. But more importantly, right now, they have found a style that is 100% sustainable if you're willing to do it.
Yeah, and they both have one superstar kind of do everything scorer that's young. Kaprizov's better right now relative to the NHL than Ant is. But Ant is on the way. Ant's a little bit younger. And then a bunch of other guys, like you can't really identify who the second best scorer is necessarily. It has to come more systematically. And if you're going to lean on something, okay, what's going to win us games? It's going to be Clamp's defense. Mm-hmm. And not getting on the Wild side, right? Not getting out, trying to do too much, as Judd has been preaching all year. So Yeah. Now, are either of those teams destined to win their league's respective championship right now? Probably not. But they're both really interesting to watch here for the next month and a half, 2 months to see if one of them or both of them can do something surprising in the playoffs.
I wouldn't say that the style that both teams are playing now could not win a series. Mm-hmm. I'll say that.
Well, dude, right now the Wolves would play if the playoffs started right now. The Wolves are in the 6th seed. They would avoid the play-in. They would play a 7-game series against the Sacramento Kings team they just beat 2 nights ago, and had a double-digit lead on.
Remember Sacramento?
They can beat the Kings.
Back in the
they can
salad
beat the
days.
dude. They can beat the Grizzlies in a 7-game series.
Bring on the Kings. Oh yeah, absolutely. They should have last year, Phil.
I know they should have. Yeah. All right, my next statement. The NFL quarterback carousel is spinning very quickly as we record this podcast. So Derek Carr just agreed to a 4-year contract with the Saints. The Jets are apparently, they thought they were in the catbird seat, that, hey, they got Rodgers conversations happening, but they've had 2 meetings with Derek Carr. Now Carr's gone, so the Jets are going to be desperately looking to Aaron Rodgers. And tomorrow, the Ravens have to decide on a franchise tag or not for Lamar Jackson. And they may use, and maybe you can elaborate on this, Judd. I think this has only been used one time in the last 20 years, Joey Galloway. It's called the non-exclusive franchise tag, which means we're going to franchise him, but he's basically a restricted free agent.
Yes.
So he can negotiate a contract with any team in the NFL. And then the Ravens can match the contract. So what they're saying is, all right, we're not going to pay you what you want, but maybe some other team, let's let you go set your own market.
Correct.
And then there's the trickle-down effect of, like, the Jimmy Garoppolos, like all these other guys in waiting. And hell, I mean, even if things go sideways with Kirk Cousins, but if you're Cousins, you're waiting to see, okay, what does Derek Carr get? Does Lamar Jackson get a contract? And then where does Kirk's contract kind of fit in there? But it took a while, but we finally have motion with the NFL quarterback carousel.
On Jackson, too. So if he gets an offer that Baltimore does not match, they get 2 first-round picks from the team that signs him. So basically what they're trying to say is, we don't think you're worth as much as you do, so you go prove it. But then if he gets too much, they say, okay, see you later, and they get 2 first-round picks. It's very interesting.
So Rodgers, if you're him, you don't want to retire because from an ego standpoint, you don't want to share that podium with Tom Brady in 5 years, right?
And you've got how much coming?
$58 million in cash.
You're not going to walk away from that. I agree with that.
Do you want to go back to the Packers and try and run that thing back again? It kind of feels like he's over Green Bay at this point. I could also see a scenario where he says, okay, I sat in that dark room for a half a week. I'd like to, the spirits are telling me I'm going to come back to Green Bay. I could see the Packers being like, actually, we've moved on. Jordan Love's our guy.
Yep.
So if you're Rodgers, you go save the Jets, I guess. But then when you go to the Jets, now you're just doing the same career thing that Brett Favre did at basically the same ages. Right?
Vegas, right?
Well, Vegas is an option too. Yeah. But is Vegas going to trade 2 or 3 first-round picks and
that's true.
Eat a bunch of that money? So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
All right, I'm going to give an impromptu statement because it literally just happened like 30 seconds ago. My statement is stop ruining Twitter. Right now, links on Twitter aren't going anywhere. TweetDeck is completely dead. You can't upload any pictures right now. This has been, I hate this back and forth with Twitter going to Twitter Blue and things that you have to subscribe for. I love Twitter, and my livelihood is tied basically to Twitter. Stop ruining Twitter. Stop making this so much difficult for everyone to use. It's a great product. I love my TweetDeck. Now I can't see my tweets coming in. Come on, stop ruining Twitter. It's an impromptu statement from me.
I had a Twitter thing this weekend. There's a group of hardcore Kirk Cousins fans that have put together basically like accounts that put out fake news and fake quotes. And they have attempted to attack me this weekend by putting out, it's not even like funny. There's no like irony to it or satire. It's just fake quotes. Here's what Phil Mackey said about Justin Jefferson, even though it's something I didn't say. Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of what Twitter has become now too, with Elon Musk firing all the people that worked on that side of the company, the people that would like see if accounts are real or not or whatnot. You just have, it's just kind of a wild, wild west. I still love Twitter, but we got some work to do to make that thing viable for the long term.
So we were told though about 2 months back that when Musk fired all of those people, it would basically last until the infrastructure collapsed. So I wonder if this is also just the start of
Could be.
glitches they can't fix.
Could be.
Or they
yeah.
can fix, but they'd have to get people back in to fix them.
Yeah.
Like, we have to be prepared for the end of Twitter at some point here.
And there's all these stories about, like, someone will. So he was mad about his engagement rates were going down in his posts.
Yeah, he
And
got mad during
He
the Super
brought
Bowl.
it to the tech people, and the tech
Yep.
people were like, "There's nothing technologically different. You just maybe people just don't like your tweets as much." He fired the guy that gave him that feedback.
Yep.
And then that guy took to Twitter and was like, "Yep, this happened. Elon is a narcissistic, egomaniacal, blah 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 blah."
Did it take that for him to realize that, by the way?
He loves himself some Elon. If he could just focus on fixing Twitter, that would be the great. All right, Judd.
It's time to say goodbye. Adam Thielen. It's over. He is doing you a tremendous favor if you are the Vikings. Because if this came down to dollars and cents, and he's like, I will play any role, I want to stay there, and they're like, dude, we're good.
Yeah.
Sort of looks harsh, right? But the fact that he is being kind enough to be obstinate and say, my role should be what it always was. I've got a ton left in the tank. I should be, I don't know if he's saying that he won't take a contract restructure, but the fact is he's not backing off on what he feels his role should be. It's a tremendous favor because it's time for it to end, and this to me makes it as easy as possible. Because if the Vikings said, yeah, we cut him because he made too much, I think that there would be some pushback. Local legend, how could you do that? I wouldn't disagree with the Vikings, but that's what the pushback would be. Now it's going to be, well, yeah, and we got Jefferson, and we're trying to get faster, and he still thought that he should be the second option. We got TJ Hawkinson as well. So I would say, Adam, thank you. You're actually making this as simple as possible to say it's simply time. Good luck in Tampa Bay or something else.
It's so hard because, like, if you're him, I could see a scenario where the Chiefs pick him up as like their third wide receiver, and Andy Reid finds a way to leverage his strengths, and he scores a bunch of touchdowns with Patrick Mahomes.
No question.
And that's what he should go. If the Vikings wind up parting ways, that's the situation he should go look for. Or if Lamar Jackson returns to the Ravens are always looking for receivers. Could he be their number 2, number 3 guy, red zone threat, a safety blanket for Lamar Jackson? But there's really no easy way. I'm trying to think of the last non-awkward breakup like this in Vikings history, even as you try to handle it tactfully. Chad Greenway was maybe the closest you can think of because he did agree to like a few different pay cuts and whatnot, and then stayed on board as kind of a brand ambassador. And I'm sure like Kendricks, like long term, Kendricks, Thielen, these guys are going to be friends of the Vikings organization, but there's no really easy way to tell a guy like Thielen or Kendricks, you're too old. We don't think you're good enough anymore to make this much money. And then when you say, we would keep you around at this price point, I think with Kendricks, I don't think that was a conversation. I think it was just, hey, there's no guarantees left here, really, so we're going to say goodbye.
Right.
I do believe that with Thielen, they're trying to find, I think the Vikings have a price point of, dude, yeah, I mean, we'd love you to be, you're great in the red zone, you're still fairly reliable, you're a good leader, all those things.
Right.
But when you hear that as a player, wait a second, you want me to go from this much money down to this much? Screw you, I'm offended. He'll wind up going somewhere else for probably less than the Vikings were willing to pay him anyways because of ego, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of what happened with Kyle Rudolph?
Well, but he forced his way back. Like he kept on the, well, you got to have me here, right? It's like last year, Thielen, can't get rid of me yet. It's always the sort of threat of, well, I might go away. It's like, okay, it's football, bye. See you later. And Kendricks, to his point, Kendricks' partner and Kendricks himself had never went out and said, well, if the Vikings aren't going to use me correctly, like he didn't blame Donatel, he did nothing. That's a really good separation in a league that calls for it. The Thielen thing to me is annoying because it's sort of these veiled threats. Well, I'll go somewhere else. Okay, that's fine. Bye.
By the way, we have an update on a statement. Twitter support has tweeted, some parts of Twitter may not be working as expected right now. We made an internal change that had some unintended consequences. We're working on this now, and we'll share an update when it's fixed. We made an internal change that
we
had
fired
some
everybody.
unintended consequences. Yeah, we fired 75% of our
We
staff.
fired all the techies,
Oops.
and they got new jobs making $500,000 down the street. Bye. Idiots. All right.
Amazing. All right, those are your statements here on Mackey and Judd on a Monday. Purple Daily, we reacted in depth to the Eric Kendricks news getting released this morning. And then on the Realistic Randy episode, Declan and Randy going to dive into free agent possibilities for the Vikings. So thanks for hanging out with us on Mackey and Judd. We'll see you tomorrow.